Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Pamela. I'm one of the founders and CEO here at Finch. I'm here together with Jesper Wahlgren, also a founder and CPO, and Amelia Henry, who is a senior partnership lead. We all have a background as architects and working today at Finch. So today's session is about how the shift that is happening in our industry, how workflows are changing, and how the role of the architect is evolving from producing solutions to directing them. And as more of you adopt these tools, the bottlenecks and competitive edge would no longer be around production. It will be around decision making. And we will explore this through a workshop that we recently hosted together with KPF for the ATN Summit build-up. But first, let me take you back to why we started Finch. So Jesper and I, who are in this call, are both architects. We used to run our own architecture company. We felt the frustration with the current CAD and BIM solutions that perhaps you were feeling as well. We would want to spend more time designing architecture, but we found ourselves with a lot of manual, repetitive work and less time in designing. So we developed a lot of our own in-house tools to become more competitive, essentially. And some of these tools were posted online, and it turned out that there were many, many more out there who shared this frustration. So we understood with this adaptive plan that we could make a bigger impact on the world of architecture by providing our industry peers with better software. So we folded our architecture firm and started Finch with one clear mission: to build the tool that we had needed ourselves as architects. We want to move from manually producing drawings to directing design outcomes. And we wanted to make sure that, and this is why we built Finch around these three principles. So interoperability, automation, and customization, not as features, but as enablers of this shift. So if we start with interoperability, for us, this meant staying within our familiar environment, working seamlessly with the tools that we were already using, making it easy to adopt and integrate. When we think about automation, we saw that our client briefs were getting longer and longer, and the expected turnaround time was getting shorter. We want to build a solution that allowed us to explore more options, deeper and faster, but without sacrificing precision or design quality. And the final one, when it comes to customization, we understand that every project is unique, and all of you here today have a unique approach of how to solve a certain specific site. So we want to make sure that you could learn from past projects and embed knowledge and design systems to steer the generated results. And we still live by these principles that allows you to define intent, explore at scale, and stay in control, making the shift from craftsman to curator. And Finch is already being used by leading architecture firms from all around the world. We have a waiting list of more than 100,000 people, but we are partnering with architecture firms approximately 6 per month to make sure that we can support them in their projects. We're very hands-on with our partners. So if you're interested in becoming one of our partners, reach out to us after the webinar. But we will have a look at what the workflow that I just described looks like in practice. We'll share a demo from a workshop that we did with KPF, where we demonstrated a connected computational workflow from urban master planning to BIM-ready floor plans. In just 2 hours, we developed an optimized unit mix for more than 800 units. We generated floor plans and brought everything into Revit as fully structured BIM geometry. This was work that would have normally taken weeks, but this was done in only 2 hours. So with that, I will hand it over to Jesper, who will walk you through this workflow and what it looks like.
Thank you. So let me share my screen to start with. There we go. Yes, so this was a workshop at the ATN Summit in London we did together with KPF, and I'm going to go through the workflow we created here together with KPF and how we went from a site into a fully BIM model. And while doing so, we're going to have a look at how the role of the architect is changing from craftsman to more of a curating role. After we've gone through this webinar or the workshop we did with KPF, I'm also going to do a live demo of roughly the same flow, just to give you a sneak peek more in depth of how software works. Okay, but let's start here. So the workshop we did with KPF was divided into two parts. And the first part, Michael from KPF started with setting up a Grasshopper script for a massive site. It was a really big one. He subdivided into 17 plots, and then we detail one of these plots further in Finch. And it is the second part of the workflow we're going to zoom into here. And just as Pamela mentioned, interoperability is a big part of Finch, and we need to be where the user are. So Michael was working in Grasshopper in this particular workshop. So of course we have a native Grasshopper component that he used to send his geometry into Finch. And this also highlights the collaboration possibilities, because Michael was sitting in London and I was sitting in Sweden receiving his geometry live. So a single source of truth in the cloud. And when I get the geometry into Finch, I started to subdividing the building further. And we've all done it with traditional methods. We draw a handful of suggestions, but instead here with new generative tools like Finch, the computer generates thousands for you. And you go from drawing 3 options manually to evaluating 30. And you change from adjusting geometry to adjusting input parameters and intent. So the role is shifting from executing to deciding. So from craftsman to curator. And when we had this unit mix in place, we also had a look at the floor plan library in Finch. And we will go through this one more time in the live demo later. The floor plan library is what we call the intent layer in Finch. And this is where you describe for the system how you would like your design to behave. And this becomes the foundation where you generate from later on. And this is a great way of sharing knowledge, sharing designs within your firm. And this is also what makes the results you get different from the next architect's results. Then we went back to our project and generated floor plans. And here the shift of the role becomes very clear. You tell Finch you want to generate floor plans, and then you get results presented in 3 categories: from your own library, from your organization library, and Finch generated. And here it's not about drawing floor plans from scratch anymore, but deciding what which one of these floor plans that fits your project the best. And your main value here as an architect is not about drawing floor plans faster anymore, but choosing better for your project. And of course, Finch helps you to evaluate these results. But I think one important thing to highlight here is also, since you once were, or maybe still are, a craftsman, you are also equipped with the tools to choose which one of these plans is better for your project. The last thing we presented in Finch is our AI assistant called Archie. The tools I've shown here up until now has been about creating geometry from 0 to 1, creating new geometry. This is not what Archie is doing. Archie is more about getting things done, and the kind of tasks you can assign to Archie is to tell him to make sure that all of your doors are placed 3 inches from the wall, not 2.5, not 4, and then Archie gets to work and goes through hundreds of designs in your project here, make sure everything follows whatever you have asked for him to check, and you can move on to other bigger design challenges in your project. So this is a great way of just get some assistance within your design flow. And when you have created all of this data in Finch, how do you get it out? This is something that we thought about long and hard when designing our Revit extension. And Amelia will go through the Revit extension more in depth later on. But we thought about it. We talked to a lot of customers, and one very common workflow when designing a project is that you start in a design software such as Rhino, SketchUp, and then you simply remodel your whole project in ArchiCAD or Revit. And this kind of workflow has two main consequences, I would say. One bad and one positive. Let's start with the positive one, and that is that when you remodel your project in your BIM solution, you get a clean slate, you start from scratch, but you also model it with the native tools in Revit, which makes Revit works better, of course, than compared to if you import a lot of geometry. The not so good thing about this flow is, of course, that it can be very frustrating to model your project all over again when you already have done it once. So this was something that we considered, can we just take the good part when we're building our extension? It turns out that we can. So when you use the Revit extension or ArchiCAD extension in Finch, the extension looks at your Finch model, and then it actually rebuilds your whole project with the native tools in Revit and ArchiCAD. So, and you can map your own families, so the model that's being built follows your design principle that you've set up in your practice. And seeing this kind of big projects being built automatically in Revit is very inspiring for everyone who has spent weeks setting up these models. So that was the workshop with KPF. We will go through it in a live demo here soon. If you want to see the full workshop, it was a 4-hour long workshop. You can simply head into YouTube and search for ATN Finch KPF, and you will see it among the top results there. Before we head into the live demo, let's wrap up the slides. So a couple of words about 2026 and our roadmap. We have been very residential heavy up until now. We're introducing more typologies in Finch. We already started to launch a lot of office features, and in the pipeline later on is healthcare and educational buildings as well. We're also launching our own 3D editor. As I showed here in the workflow, we started in Grasshopper, Rhino, and then we went into Finch and worked with the mass. When we're launching the 3D editor, you will be able to start immediately or directly in Finch. And the last thing is the documentation part. We're developing documentation capabilities for schematic design, so you will be able to stay longer in Finch before you head into Revit and ArchiCAD. And maybe you would like to say a couple of words, Pamela, to wrap the presentation up here before we head into the live demo. Nope, you're gone.
Let's see. Sure. I mean, this is a presentation that we presented at the ATN Summit. We're really excited about this shift that is happening, and we, of course, want to support as many of our industry peers adapting to this new era of AI. So if you are interested in this type of workflow, if you see Finch as a potential fit for the type of projects you work with, just reach out to us. We will send out an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of the full webinar, and there you have our contact information if you want to get in touch with us to learn more about what that type of partnerships looks like.
Okay, super. So let's head into the live demo here. So this is Finch. It runs in the browser. This is how it looks. We're going to take this mass and generate circulation, unit mix, and floor plans in it. And when I'm done with it, Amelia will demonstrate the Revit plugin. A couple of words about how I got this geometry into the browser. We connect to existing software. Just give me a second here. I'm going to change my camera. There you go. So we connect to existing software. We connect to Rhino, Grasshopper, Revit, ArchiCAD, and Forma. So this is where you start your design process. In this example, I'm going to show you our Rhino extension. So this is where the geometry come. We have a Finch extension down here, and I've simply, let's hide the context, uploaded my mass into Finch. And this is then where I'm going to start detailing it further. There you go. And this is how it looks when you get into Finch. The first thing I'm going to start with is just assigning some programs here. I'm simply select the different stories. I say I want residential. Let's put retail here in the bottom and maybe some technical things at the top. And immediately I get some information of how many square feet I have for the different programs. And this is just a great way of making sure that you have your key figures in place all the time here for the project. So let's head into the top story and start generating things. I'm simply select the whole story, click generate. I'm going to generate unit mix and corridors for this building. And straight away here I launch it. I get some suggestions of the core placements. I've inputted some parameters here, maximum egress distance and so on. So if I were to force my algorithm to, instead of adding these 3 stairwells, just put 1 stairwell, you will also see that I get some instant feedback that this is just simply too far away from the circulation. The units we will generate over here will not be compliant according to the input I've given it. So let's jump back to 3. There we go. I'm happy with this one, and before I go ahead and generate the unit mix, I'm just going to apply it here to my story. There you go. And everything you generate in Finch is also editable. So if I zoom in here, I can simply say, okay, I would like my circulations to be to 24 feet instead. I would like to align this wall with this wall, something like that. So you can edit it to get it exactly how you want. Then I simply select the areas where I would like to generate my new units, and I go and click generate unit mix around existing corridor. Could be used in an existing project as well, turning an office building into residential and so on. Let's fire it up. Once again, it asks for some input. I use specify a unit mix, the input and so on, and you can see that the algorithms start to work. And even if we have a complex shape like this, you can see that the precision is actually very high. I asked for 1250, I have 1250, I have for 750, and so on. And of course, there's always 1 or 2 apartments that takes up the discrepancy here. But for this particular design, I would like to have a little bit more control, and then I can add, I'm actually going to add some grid lines here. There you go, and tell the algorithms to follow the grid lines. And what happens now is that the algorithm tries to find the optimal blend of snapping to the grid lines and still maintaining the input that I've given it. Of course, this is a trade-off that you as an architect has to decide where to go. Do you want exact sizes, or do you want it to follow the grid lines? But I think I'm fairly happy with this result. It's good enough. Let's put it in here. And once again, if you have these kind of situations, when I asked for 1,000 square feet, I got 1,000 square feet, but me as an architect think it would be nice if this one aligns. Then I can simply pull it, hold down shift to lock it, and there you go. So with the unit mix in place, I'm very happy with this one. Before we go deeper and start generating floor plans, I would like to show you my floor plan library. So I simply head up to the menu. I'm going to click on plans. I'm actually going to use another tab here. There we go. This is my floor plan library. I also have access to my demo organization's floor plans, and as I mentioned, this is a great way of sharing designs from previous projects, see what your colleagues have been up to, and so on. But I'm going to head into my library and I'm going to open one of my plans. Let's use this one. So this is how a plan look, and what's special about the plans here in Finch is that they are adaptive. So if I pull a wall, you can see that it stretches a little bit. And that might not be how you would like your architecture to behave. So then you can also go in and set constraints. For example, this is a bathroom module, or could be. I simply lock the walls here. And then I have my corridors. I would like to say that they are allowed to be wider, but not more narrow. And the next time I stretch my plan here, you can see that my bathroom stays the same and the corridors becomes wider. And if I pull it together here, you can see that the small bathroom is getting squeezed and not the corridors. So this is just a great way of communicating with the system how you would like your design to behave. But let's jump back into the project. There we go. And let's start generating some floor plans here. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to click generate floor plan, and then we give Finch a couple of seconds to analyze where do we have the outside, where is the corridor, where's the neighboring apartment, and so on, to make sure we have a plan that is entered from the corridor and into the and have bedrooms to the facade and these kind of things. And as we see results popping in here, they are being presented in 3 categories. I have my own plans. They come from my plan library. Let's click one here. I have plans from my colleagues that they have designed that I can browse around and see what they have been up to. And I have Finch generated results down here that I also can use as inspiration and apply here and then make it my own. But since my own plans fitted very well here, I'm going to use one of them. And as you saw now, the colors changed when I baked it. That is because I've changed the colors in this project, because everything in Finch, both the design and the look of things can be customized to make it look exactly how you would like it in your practice. And when I have a plan in place, I'm just going to go in here and click Control C to copy. I'm going to select some similar plans. Let's do it like this. And I'm going to click Control V. And then the system rotates it as it understands, you need to enter from the corridor. And you can see that it's copied out to these different units. As you see, I copied it also into a unit that doesn't look exactly the same. I have this undulating facade here. And then me as an architect can go in and say, but I would like to use this plan anyhow. So I would like to stretch these walls a little bit and say union. And now the plan adapts to all of the different units, and you can see the outline here of the different units where I use the plan. And they are still linked even if they are a little bit different. So if I were to move my little Eames chair here, of course it updates in all of the units. And this is a great way of working with repetition in your design, even if it's not exactly the same apartments. And then I work my way through the project, and I can show you how it looks when we have a lot of plans. This is a full project. And the last thing I would like to show you before we heading in to Revit, the Revit demo, is of course Archie, our design assistant I mentioned earlier on here. I'm going to open him here, and then I can do things like, let's do the same, a similar example. Make sure all my pocket doors are 2 inches from the wall. Let's see what happens. And then we give Archie a couple of seconds to think about it. Let's see. From nearest wall, that sounds about right. So now it goes into the different plans here, and this is the pocket doors, of course. And yeah, you can see he moved that one, and then he's just working his way through all of my units here in the project. And this is a great way of making sure everything is ready for going out to a full BIM model in Revit later. And there is just something pleasing about, starting Archie and see how he navigates around in the project while I'll have a coffee or think about the bigger questions here in the project. Okay, while he's doing that, I'm just going to show you super quickly how this project would look in Revit later. So just to not let you wait while Revit build the models, it takes a couple of minutes for Revit to build a model. So I did it before this demo. This is how it looks in Revit when it comes in. It is native Revit geometry as mentioned, Revit walls, Revit doors, Revit families. And yeah, this is it for the demo part. Now, Amelia will show you how it works when you import a project to Revit. And I think she also will mention that we also support the same kind of things in ArchiCAD. I think that's it. Did I forget about anything, Amelia or Pamela?
I think that was great. Thanks, Jesper. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And yeah, as Jesper mentioned, we'll go through the let's go here. We will be going through the workflow for both Revit as well as ArchiCAD. So here we are inside of Finch. This is a high-rise tower located in New York. And just to give a quick idea of kind of how Finch can be used as a presentation tool as well when we're at this stage, if we're ready to bring this down into Revit. We of course always have our programs on the left side or on the right side here. So we have, residential, GFA, GIA, etc. We can even set up, custom calculations for carbon revenue, these sort of things. So a lot of the stuff that you also will do when you go down into Revit, you can actually have up here in Finch as well, looking at space types, vertical stacking, unit mix, as well as some schedules of object stores, walls, these sort of things. But once we're ready to go down into Revit, we'll just go ahead and open that up. Here we can see this full building modeled in 3D. And as you saw in the KPF video, we can have both 2D and 3D furniture. In this particular model, we're working primarily with 2D furniture. And you can also, of course, map whatever you're bringing in here. If we just go ahead and take a look in 2D, we can see that we have, those area plans for GFA, NIA, these sort of things. And we, of course, also are working with those model groups. So the model groups we have up in Finch with our plans, all of these type A, type B, studio, this is brought all the way down into Revit. And these names, of course, are retained. And as Jesper mentioned, we do have the custom mapping. So in this particular file, everything is getting mapped as Finch basic walls. But when you are importing things, you can switch them over to your own templates as defaults. If we want to go ahead and generate inside of Revit, we can also do that. So we often say that, if you're kind of later stage in the project, or maybe you're just using Finch for the very first time, this can be a really nice way to get up and running with Finch. Essentially, we just want to click inside of the unit we want to generate in, click on the entrance door wall, and then hit finish. And then instantly we're going to be leveraging that data set that we have up in Finch down here in the Revit environment that we're very familiar with. So we'll see these start to pop up. And as always, you have a few different result sets. So my own plans, my firm's plans, Finch plans, you have a lot to choose from, and you can just click those down to bring them into the Revit environment. If we jump over into ArchiCAD, same thing goes there. Open ArchiCAD up. So here, a very similar environment. We, of course, have that 3D model brought down here. Take a look there. And everything's coming in as expected. You can custom map this here as well. And same goes if we want to go ahead and generate a plan. We can go ahead and click Generate in this zone. And then the interface, you'll notice, is actually a little bit different here. So we are going to kind of work in more of that Finch environment that you're familiar with. So we can go ahead and say that we want, the entrance here. Go ahead and generate, and then I'm just going to drag this over so we can see the whole window here, like so. And then we have all of our filters. We can check for compliant plans, search by region, tags, all of that here, preview the plans as we are used to. And if I want to actually work with this plan, I can just assign it out. And we are working with hot links as well. So same as those model groups will pop down here into ArchiCAD. All right, and then we have that there. So I'll just move this back over. We can take a look at what we received. So looks pretty similar to what we've already downloaded. Everything's coming down in our own templates there. All right, that's what I have for ArchiCAD and Revit. So I'll hand it back over to Jesper and Pamela.
Thank you, Amelia. Shall we jump into Q&A? Let's see. The first question is around when the education solutions will be available. We have started to do a couple of collaborations with a few universities. This is a resource question, but hopefully we can launch more broadly to students already later this year, early next year. Unfortunately, not ETA on that yet, though. The second question is, what are the links between ArchiCAD and Finch? And this is what Amelia just showed. Feel free to ask a more detailed question if you have a more specific question around ArchiCAD. And the next question is if Finch automatically split the building into stories, or was the facade built split already? Would you like to take this one, Jesper?
Yes, so we automatically split the mesh into stories, but of course you can set your own story height, and you also can upload your storage if you are an advanced Grasshopper user and so on. So you have total freedom over your stories.
Next person here, sounds like you have a bug with the ArchiCAD integration. Feel free to send this into our chat. If you are a Mac user, we want to let you know that we currently do not support that yet. We're waiting for approval from Apple. But if you're facing any issues, just write to us in the chat and we will forward this to our development team. The next question is if it's possible to add back of house program within residential floor plans. I'm not familiar with back of house programs. Anyone else here? Amelia or Jesper?
If I understand, if it's just about the types of rooms that you can have inside of your plan, I mean, this is completely custom. So anything that goes into the data set, room typologies, spatial layouts, hierarchies, this is all reflected in the results that you get.
Yeah, good. The next question, if it's possible to add bedroom closets automatically in each bedroom. This is a type of data that we can embed to the floor plan library that Jesper just showed. Here we can add closets and so on, and that will be included when you generate from your own library. The next one is about construction. For construction purposes, how can you constrict the amount of unit types? In my practice, the unit types aren't just the same area, but the same footprint as well. Jesper, you'd like to take this one?
I didn't hear the whole question. Sorry.
Sorry, let's see. So how can you constrict the amount of unit types for repetition?
Yeah, so that happens when you generate the unit mix, of course. In my case, I had an undulating facade. Everyone will become unique, but in the KPF workshop where we had a straight building, since the program tries to find exact area, they will end up the same shape and the size. So that happens by default. Of course, you will always get some unique ones in corners and this kind of things, just as you would when you design it yourself.
Yes. So Andrea is writing, this is really exciting, guys. Well done. Thank you. Is it possible to set up criteria for how GLA, GFA, etc. is measured?
At the moment, we support the standard ones: gross floor area, net internal area, gross internal area. We will here later this year launch custom ways to calculate these kind of different things, where you as a user will be able to set, should we measure from the center of the wall or from the inside or outside, and these kind of things. Right now we support the most common ones, but more custom is coming here during the year.
Yep. Next one is for Amelia. When exporting to Revit, where do the family come from? I.e. doors, windows, etc. Are these standard Autodesk families, or can you use practice-specific ones?
Yeah, so when you export, you have a dialog box, and then you can actually auto map them. So you can select all of the walls that are in your Finch project and auto map them, and then you can actually save these settings as well. So you only need to set this up once. But if you don't do this, they just come in as those Finch generic ones. But yeah, you can have them custom mapped to anything, whether it's doors, slabs, furniture, walls, all of that. And actually, if you do upload your furniture from Revit to begin with, then it will automatically do that as well.
Nice. The next question is if this works with UK standards as well. Yes, we have many UK firms using Finch. A few of them you might see here behind me. And we can embed a lot of different type of regulations, both into the plan library, but also the input that you can give the optimized unit mix algorithm and so on. Feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you have a specific project that you're considering using in Finch. Happy to help you out. The next one is also about regulations, building and technical in various countries. For that, I want to say that we have customers in more than 20 countries. We have customers in the US, in Europe, in the Middle East, Asia, Australia. So we are quite familiar to working with very different type of regulations, and this is why we help all of our customers to build up this plan library to make sure that this is where you can embed the type of regulations that you need to adhere to in that level of detail. And then in the broader algorithms, this is where you can again interact with everything that is being generated. And I usually say that Finch can probably adhere to, depending on where you are, what part of the world you are, to 50 to 70% of the rules. But you are, as an architect, are always in charge. You need to evaluate the results and make sure it is 100% compliant and take it from those 50 to 100%. The next question is if it read and convert any units, like millimeter meters. I'm not sure I understand the question. Anyone else?
If I understand, you can upload straight from Rhino Revit in any units, and you can also switch between imperial and metric inside of Finch.
Yeah. This one is also for you, Amelia. Once you export to Revit, can you go back to Finch for a redesign? Thank you. Great webinar. Thank you for attending the
So once you export to Finch, you are kind of doing this conversion to BIM, so it doesn't kind of flow both ways. But if you have really big changes, we advise you to kind of go back into Finch, redesign, regenerate, work with it there. If you do have minor changes, just a wall here and there, then what I showed generating inside of Revit can be a really good option. So I would say it just depends on the scale of the changes. But we kind of advise our customers to stay inside of Finch for as long as possible, iterate there, because once you do go out to Revit, you are kind of doing that export that is a little bit, harder than staying in Finch, where you can be really flexible and iterate quickly.
Good. Anna here wrote a follow-up question. I think I misunderstood the first one. The question was about educational solution. It's about the educational architecture as residential, commercial, and so on. Will there be a solution for those kind of buildings as well, and when? We're actually already supporting educational projects through the Nano Banana extension. I don't know, Jesper, do you have something to demo? Maybe not educational, but we have Office as an example just to show how the Nano Banana interface works in Finch.
Yeah, sure. Let's. So this was the project we were working in. Let's just add a wall here and generate an office instead. So I'm just going to delete this part of the building, and then I'm going to say select it. I'm going to generate with Nano Banana, and I can just office for 40 people and give it. And of course, you can develop these prompts a lot and be very intricate and complex. Now, generate an office for 40 people. We'll see how the results becomes here. I would say the main benefit with using Nano Banana in Finch compared to just running it in Google, as you know, is of course that we curate the input and output. So we send the geometry, the unit where you want to generate into Nano Banana. Here we're getting some results. Here's an office, and we can see some different results here. And let's take one. I think I like this one the best. Let's choose this one. So of course we provide that, and then we also, if we click find walls here, Finch also converts the already now let's see, turn on this one, the image into editable geometry. Right now it's walls like this, and of course you can see that we can get in and edit these kind of things manually. You can take the doors and change them and work with them. Next, furniture is coming as well. And of course, now I typed office. You could, since it's Google, anything that's on the internet you can generate here, if it's educational or mechanical space and so on.
Good, thank you. The next question is from David. A link maintained between Finch and Revit ArchiCAD for when individual rooms are updated in Finch, or is it one-way traffic? I think you already covered this, Amelia. The next question is, what about various technical systems and their integrations in the building, technical shaft spaces for the tech and so on? Maybe I can answer this one. It depends on the project. It depends on how far you come with the project. We can, of course, incorporate, as an example, grid lines. For some customers, we include shafts already in their plans, or if they prefer to add this later, it's very case by case. Let's see. The next question is issue of the details. How is it solved, as well as thickness of elements?
So thickness of elements and walls and so on is embedded in your floor plan library. So if you set that you want 4 inches or 120 millimeters inner walls, the result you generate will also have these dimension. And there was one more part of the question, right, Pamela?
How is it solved, and as well as,
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that one.
Good. There's a follow-up regarding ArchiCAD. If your unit type size in the same type A, would this be coming into ArchiCAD as MOD or module type?
When we're bringing in the model groups, they're coming in as hot links, so they're linked, similar to how they are coming in as model groups into Revit. But all of you can actually test the ArchiCAD plugin even on the free tier. So if you guys want to go in and kind of see the geometry that you get out, you can download one of the sample projects and have a look and kind of inspect the geometry.
Yes. The next question is about roadmap. What are your future plans for the software, and what features do you hope to add in the future? Great seminar, thanks. Thank you for attending. Jesper, would you like to answer this one?
Yeah, of course. So the main things, as I showed in the slides here, is of course more typologies and the 3D editor, and right now we sit in between, if you say Rhino, SketchUp, this kind of design software, and then we have the BIM software where we have ArchiCAD and Revit, and we generate and work with the inside of the building. We would like to go further into the early stages as well, so you can start with the mathing in Finch. That's why we're building the 3D editor, and we're also going in the other direction, adding documentation capabilities within Finch. So we prolong the time spent in Finch before you need to jump into your more rigid BIM software that probably is very good at documentation, but maybe not as flexible when it comes to the design phase.
Good, thank you. This ties quite well into the next question, which is about how does Finch understand the unit shape being rectangular, square with curves, etc. Do we need to model them in Revit first and import it into Finch and import to Revit again, or do we draw in Finch directly first? So right now you have to upload your mass from Revit, Rhino, Grasshopper, or Autodesk Forma. You design the inside in Finch, and then you can bring this back to your preferred software as proper BIM geometry. Just as Jesper mentioned, we're building out our own 3D editor, which would allow you to start in Finch quite soon. Good. The next question is, after we modify the project in ArchiCAD Revit, can we import the modification back to Finch? Sort of the inverse process. I think we already covered it, right? The next question is if we support direct integration with Autodesk Forma. Yes, we do. We have built an extension for Autodesk Forma, so you can fetch context surrounding buildings and so on, develop your mass in Forma, bring this into Finch, and then export it to Revit. That is a very popular workflow. We presented this at Autodesk University last year. There's a YouTube clip on exactly what this workflow looks like. And it's a very popular workflow amongst our customers, actually. The next question is if there is an option for creating renderings for the spaces. Is this something Archie does, or is it only in our development environment?
Well, you can tell Archie to create a render and you will get something out. But no, it's not something we do. We work with space planning and so on. And I think there's other tools that built specifically for this out there that you should play around with.
Next question, if it's possible to create curtain wall modulations through the facade layout.
Not at the moment. We work at the inside of the building. We have just launched the ability to add windows. Of course, you can add a lot of windows, turning it into a curtain wall. But no, not at the moment. We still focus very much on the inside.
We have a next question from Rodrigo. He asked if it supports Chilean norms. Just as mentioned before, we have customers from all around the world. We can usually, as mentioned, adhere to about 50 to 70% of them through the constraints and the furnitures that we embed into your plan library. So I think we'll be able to work with Chilean norms as well. Next question is if you can split the screen in the Finch workflow to view both the floor plan and the 3D view of the rooms model simultaneously. I think we've done this, right?
Yeah, we had it earlier on, but we removed it. So you cannot.
Okay, not anymore. Next question is if you have already designed a layout in Revit but want to have more layout options, will you be able to do that in Finch for the same model? I think if you want more layout options, I would use the feature that Amelia demoed here today, where you can generate floor plans directly into Revit. And then the final one, is it possible to work with prompts offering flexibility in the projects, switching between different typologies, but keeping the structure stability of the buildings in an intelligent way, also in renovation projects, mixed builds, etc.? Regarding renovation projects, you can upload existing structure to Finch, and Finch can work around this. And yeah, I mean, Jesper showed a very simple prompt here just to generate an office. But usually for our customers, those are much longer, much more customized to how they design. So yes. And when it comes to structure, of course, grid lines and so on. Good. I think it was all of the questions. Anything you'd like to add, Jesper, Amelia?
Yeah, maybe the last one. I mean, working with Nano Banana, you can also feed existing walls into the to Nano Banana, and it's usually pretty good at working around them. No, nothing
Good.
more from me.
So thank you to everyone who attended here today. We will send out a recording tomorrow, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions around what type of product we support. If you have an upcoming project where you think Finch could be a good fit, happy to help you get started. Thank you. Bye bye.